Okay, boys, welcome back. As we speak, it is a Saturday afternoon. I understand that the NFL teams have reported back for training camp, so the seasons are changing. I think they're also, it's still the dog days, but just go with the metaphor, boys. The seasons are changing in politics, too. We're down to the last act of sort of legislating and lawmaking before we transition over to the election crew. So closing out what has been a great arc this spring and summer is Zubby Badger here to revisit. You know what I'm going to say. Reconciliation, Joe Manchin, Chuck Schumer, whatever they're up to lately, Kyrsten Sinema, whatever she's doing out with her saguaro cactuses in the desert. We need to talk about gay marriage, which seems to be back, but maybe is not back. And also NATO expansion, Sweden, Finland, making Ace of Base great again, is going to maybe be hitting the Senate floor soon. So we're going to close out lawmaking. And Zubby, I don't know, like, are you just gonna have to get woke to elections? Because we really enjoyed having you on the show so much. But it's about to be like the Sharko Rubio Rainbow Jeremy squads. Time to be celebrities again in political gambling. How does it feel?
Hey, if this is the one I'm going out on, hopefully we do as well as the last one. But yeah, I can give you some election stakes if you need them down the line, no problem.
Okay. And to be clear, I guess if we want to be like capital J journalists here, we need to disclose that we have like personal interests at stake over the end game for what are we calling it? Reconciliation, Inflation Reduction Act. What's it called now?
The Inflation Reduction Act.
That is one for the ages, by the way. That's like right up there with like Operation Iraqi Freedom or something, like so idiotic. We have 5 Arby's sandwiches bet on this bill. I think I took the outcome of it not passing. It looks like I might be literally eating some crow here. But are you feeling good about that, or are you training a little bit for some Arby's?
I am doing whatever the opposite of training a bit for some Arby's. That's what I'm doing. I am extremely confident I'm going to win. I look forward to awkwardly sitting there while you eat 5 Arby's sandwiches. Maybe I'll have one with you. We'll see how I'm feeling that day, but I'm not going to lose. You're done.
I'm done. The done chain is off of Chuck Schumer's neck and onto mine here. Okay, well then why don't we get into it? So the big news this week is there's, quote, a deal on reconciliation. I don't know what the hell that even means anymore. The point is that Chuck Schumer and Joe Manchin sort of secretly found a way to spend another $800 billion of money through this vessel called the Inflation Reduction Act, which, again, is an amazing name. Operation Iraqi Freedom, Operation Just Cause. The government just does it right sometimes. Anyway, but the person who was cut out of this agreement was the queen bee of Senate moderates and Sphinx-like politicians, which is Arizona Senator Kyrsten Sinema. And I think largely because of that, and also possibly because of pumping we've done on this podcast, the gambling markets only have this as like a 65 to 70% favorite to pass. So markets believing that there will be a reconciliation bill a la Joe Manchin that passes, but not really feeling great about it. So how about I quote Axios and then I let you talk? Does that sound okay?
Sounds good.
Okay, so as of Saturday morning, Axios said, quote, Chuck Schumer, the Democratic leader, made a calculated decision to negotiate a package with Manchin in secrecy. He assumed that all of his members, including Sinema, would fall into line and support the deal. This is, of course, because Kyrsten Sinema did not support this deal in the past, and no one's really checked in with her lately. So I guess let me ask, is that like a boys club move from Chuck Schumer? Does he think that Kyrsten Sinema is kind of like a beta or a soy boy, or like, whoa, are we judging his character here?
I don't think it's a boys club move. I think everything in this bill, almost everything, we can talk about what's not, but everything in this, most of what's in this bill sort of lines up with stuff that Sinema has publicly agreed to previously. So I think Schumer just sort of took that on her behalf, assumed she still agreed with it, and just viewed Manchin as the big obstacle and is essentially daring Sinema to vote it down, negotiate minor cuts, etc.
Okay, so maybe let's think bigger here. So, like, in the universe of things that could totally ruin this bill that has been ruined many times over for sort of progressive Dems, Kyrsten Sinema is not the only thing, and we can talk about what her gripes are too. But I have a little notepad of other things that could mess this up. So why don't you feel free to add to them? So the Senate parliamentarian could mess it up because of the weird procedure rules. COVID, if these members, they keep getting it. Also death could mess this up if someone got hit by a train or something.
Absolutely.
Am I missing anything?
Those are the House could mess it up too. That would be one.
Oh, how would they do that?
This is unlikely in my opinion, but if there are some House moderates, the speculation is that there are people representing wealthy parts of New York and New Jersey who want the state and local tax deduction in this bill. In theory, if they wanted to push the red button and kill it, they could. That would be really betting against Pelosi, and that's like one of the. It's not even like a never bet against Pelosi thing, but like big agenda on the line, bring it up to the House. This is pass or don't pass. I would not bet against her here, but that should be on the list.
That was amazing. Like a year ago, you could get like a 60%, almost even money bet that they wouldn't do that tax cut for rich people in this bill. That was one of the better lines ever. Okay. So we've got Kyrsten Sinema ruining it, COVID ruining it, the Senate parliamentarian, death and taxes. Death and taxes always loom large in politics. So I guess like where is Sinema and her, is she on the team, not on the team? Where does she kind of rank in your order of being worried about this?
Yeah, so for the predicted market, it's that the bill has to pass before the August recess, basically. Now that can change on when that happens. But the number one issue for the August recess would be COVID. If a bunch of Dems get COVID, there's nothing they could do about it. And they might, if that happens like end of next week or something, or maybe like 2 weeks in a row or something, then like the predicted market's gonna resolve no, regardless whether this thing passes. That's the biggest risk. As far as killing the bill, I would say death would be a guaranteed kill shot. I don't want to get dark. You have Senator Leahy, who had 2 hip surgeries. He's allegedly coming back, but for old dudes with hip problems, that's an issue. And then I would put Sinema and the parliamentarian killing the entire bill very low, taking out some parts of it reasonably high, but killing the entire bill. The parliamentarian won't do that. And Sinema, I would put that at like 1% that she has her John McCain thumbs down moment.
So, why is that, though? Because you and other traders seem to think that you know her pretty well, and I don't really get the impression that anyone knows her very well.
Yeah, no, I don't know her at all. It's just like she used to be a member of the Green Party. It's a climate bill. She specifically endorsed this minimum corporate tax that basically says Amazon has to pay 15% in tax rates. The pharma stuff, maybe, but that's like already cut down like to satisfy like the representatives and her who are in the pocket of big pharma. And then you get like the thing people keep focusing on is there's this thing called the carried interest loophole, which is basically just a tax giveaway to rich people. It lets them get better rates on their certain amounts of profits or something. That could come out, and she could take that out, but that's not killing the bill. So for all our traders and listeners, I would say just like really be careful what you're listening to. Like the Politico, like going nuts over the carried interest loophole being in jeopardy, that is by no means going to kill the bill. Do not panic buy, do not panic sell if you see some news story like that coming out, because that is a very small part of it. I almost think it's in there specifically so she can put her own spin on it and take it out. I think people like Chuck Schumer like to campaign against that specific thing, but when they go to the Hamptons with their donor meetings, they don't actually want that thing taken.
Right. So, okay. So there's like one big question, right? And the one big question is, this deal was announced Wednesday. Okay. So it's Saturday. Joe Manchin is literally booked on every single Sunday morning show. Literally every single one. So he's feeling great about himself. No one's heard anything from Kyrsten Sinema. So why hasn't she said anything?
Her office claims she's reading it, which I doubt, and that she's waiting for the parliamentarian to rule, which could be the case. If that's the case, she might be looking at the pharma stuff to take out, because that was. But when they were
what's at issue there? It's like how many drugs are covered by price controls or something like that, or
it's whether allowing Medicare to negotiate prices of drugs is considered like budgetary, and it's just like the parliamentarian's decision. Right. And it seems totally arbitrary. Like she didn't allow a bunch of things when they were negotiating earlier, but she did allow like Republicans to oil drill in Alaska. So I don't know the criteria. I don't understand it. I think she just has to make a ruling.
Right. It's hard for me to imagine that that they're going to royally fuck this up, and the parliamentary is going to come back and say like, actually, 9 of the 12 eggs in this crate need to be thrown out. So, but again, like, who really knows? I just don't get why Kyrsten Sinema can't say she's for it or against it.
Yeah, I don't know.
You said 1% chance that she's against it, but yet she's being this cagey about, how she wants to proceed. Like, isn't that like at least like a 2 or a 5 or a 10%?
Sure, maybe. I'm just saying 1% that she just nukes the bill. Nothing's passing. Nothing's happening. I would be very surprised by that, because, like I said, a lot of this stuff has sort of been run by her a year ago. Now, maybe she would say, in your 10% scenario, she would say, we just got the news, we're in a recession, we can't make Amazon pay 15% in corporate taxes or whatever. Maybe. That's possible. My guess is she isn't saying anything because she is probably negotiating with Schumer, who also hasn't said anything about her, to put her own little spin on it in exchange for not like openly allowing poison pill votes during the vote-a-rama. That is my personal guess, and my guess is she will get.
So you're introducing something that's important to understand, which is, I guess the idea here is because of the weird, like very Harry Potter, Dumbledore-y procedural rules for this type of bill, the Republicans get to offer like basically anything they want or something. I don't really know. But I'm just imagining votes on like, none of this money can be used to like teach children under 5 that gender's made up and stuff like that. All these riders on the bill. Yeah.
It becomes ridiculous. It's like budget neutral votes on like not teaching critical race theory or like not giving prescription, like you'll see like making sure like illegal immigrants don't get prescription drug discounts on Medicare or something like that. Like that's it. You'll see like 10 versions of that if they want to. It could be 400. Like if theoretically, if they wanted to, they could do 1 million amendment votes like that. It probably will just be like couple hundred, or not a couple hundred, probably like 50, I would guess.
Yeah.
Max. It'll probably take all night. Like if you're gonna watch this, it's probably starting at like 7 p.m. one random night and probably ending at 8 a.m. That's kind of what you're looking at.
And then the upshot is the next day the campaign adds it like Raphael Warnock voted 17 times to raise your taxes during a recession and 15 times to teach critical race theory in your schools. All because of this vote-a-rama.
Yeah, exactly. That's what they're going for. So, in theory, if one Democrat votes for any of those amendments, then they get put into the bill. Now, there is something called a wraparound amendment that Schumer can introduce that says all these amendments that we just passed, we're now eliminating all of them at the very end, which is just this is so stupid, and anybody from the outside, organized, making any sense of this would be like, what the hell are you talking about? But he can do that. He can eliminate all the changes.
I mean, that's what's fun about Congress is all the idiocy. It's like you gotta like love it all. You gotta love it unconditionally.
Yeah, the Dems would all have to agree to that, too. Manchin has said he will never do that again. He told Brett Baer that at one point. So, we'll see. It's also now his baby. Like, he's stumping for it. So, normally you want your own thing to pass as much in as good a shape as you can get it. So, we'll see with that.
I mean, I guess I'll ask the same question, like the 10,000th different way, which is, a lot of what you've been saying is that you can be confident in Kyrsten Sinema supplying votes for this bill because she said she would do so in the past. But really the whole reason why we're here is that, Joe Manchin has gone back and then forth and then back and then forth again on what he said he's willing to do in the past. Like inconsistency is what has created this opportunity. So is it that there's something fundamentally different about Kyrsten Sinema and Joe Manchin, or why not expect more inconsistency?
Yeah, I guess it's stupid. Like, she didn't go out there and kill the bill the first time. She was more negotiating to sort of get to parameters that she wanted. The reporting was she was okay with most of that stuff. It was just like the reporting was she didn't want to raise taxes on individual tax rates. This doesn't do that. She didn't want the carried interest thing, so that is something that maybe is thrown in to get her to take it out almost by herself. And she didn't want something where she was very pro-pharma, and I think the compromise they made was something that she at one point agreed to and was willing to let them do on a very small basis before the big Manchin-Schumer deal. So you just see all the stuff she's agreed to. She didn't come out and kill it previously. We never heard her say no. We heard her say yes to a few things. It's just, is she, like, I think if she kills this, she's, like, switching parties the next, like, after the cycle. Like, that's it, and it's possible, but I think
the pharma stuff is, now that regrettably, we announced on our last podcast that I live in D.C., which is just, Jesus God, it's like
East Coast, baby.
It's like if a city had like a 6-pack of Amstel Light for a personality. But the farmer bros around DC think that's their lifeline, is that she's got their back. But it wouldn't be the first time that the farmer bros were wrong about something.
Yeah, this isn't going to do anything to them. Like, they're complaining.
They're still going to be rich.
Yeah, they're still going to be rich. They're complaining that it'll stop innovation. There's many analyses that say it won't. It's a very minor thing. It's mostly just to say some nice things to old people before the election. That's mainly what they're doing, saying, like, we capture Medicare expenses at X dollars or something.
Right.
I doubt regular people are going to see much benefit, but it's a good tagline and good for people on Medicare, I would say.
Right. Like, your grandchildren's brains have been turned to mush by TikTok, but we did make sure that, your catheter costs $3 less or something. Interesting approach to legislation. Okay, well, so 5 Arby's sandwiches is the bet. To be clear, the markets right now are at 65 cents. Yes, I have. You got to be flexible in this business, boys. I am on yes at 67 cents right now. I don't really want to hold that until the end, but maybe that's why I'm a beta cuck soy boy. Like, this has been a nice little volatile market to swing trade a little bit, but I do think that the advantage here is with yes. I'm not obviously as confident as you are, and I'm going to learn to love Arby's in the meantime because I think I sense that you're right, Zebby. That's what I sense.
Yeah, I would just say official advice, the predicted market, you're going to have to be following the news pretty closely on COVID, absences, anything like that. If you see something early next week, like Monday, they can probably still avoid it. If you see something late in the week, then you should start getting nervous for the predicted market. Any market,
because
the Senate can't just make up new time. The predicted market resolves on September 2nd.
Right, and there would be a time where they would just be like, all right, we'll just push this to after the recess. Any market where it's will reconciliation pass at all, I think that's something that I would recommend buying into, and particularly the Kalshi market, which people don't appear to understand, which is will Build Back Better pass. It's a little confusing because this isn't called Build Back Better anymore, but the market specifically references the House resolution number that is literally this bill. And that's been swinging back and forth a little bit. If you can get a deal in the 60s, under 60, anything like that, I'm heavily exposed there, and I recommend anybody, if they have the cash free, to do the same.
That is magical. Maybe we should just spend 1 second before we go to gay marriage. What's sort of funny about this whole situation is I feel like, I don't know if you were on this podcast when it was like a year ago, and we were just talking about how the right way to play this was to bet. It was like when they were still multi-bracketed, how much money will be in Build Back Better. And we were just like basically max out on no on everything over $1 trillion, and then just like bet for something under $1 trillion to happen at some point in the future. And it sort of gets to the idea that, like, I don't know, for all we talk about being smart and doing research, like sometimes first instincts are a pretty valuable thing to follow in this game.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I personally would do better. I do pretty well, but I would do better if I just had my first instinct and tuned out the noise. The amount of times I panic sell off a tweet, panic buy off some random news that doesn't mean anything, and get it wrong happens all the time. So I agree. Your first instincts are usually, if you can tune out the noise, it's usually a good thing to follow.
Yeah, or like I feel like we had another funny one with what's now the CHIPS Act or something, where like what happened there? It was like, we said, the bill's like not going to pass as we know it, but like it'll probably, they'll come up with like a new vessel to rebrand, and but also like from the outset we said it would pass. I mean, this was so weird. This is like a hard business to be in, but it seems to work out, I guess. I don't know. I mean, maybe think less or maybe think more. I don't really know what the lesson is. We'll have to just keep coming back to that.
Yeah, no, the chips thing is a good example because we said USICA wouldn't pass, and we said, or I think we said that McConnell, as long as they were doing reconciliation, McConnell wasn't going to let them get 2 wins. So then USICA didn't pass, but then reconciliation seemed like it was going to fail, so McConnell let them get a bigger win than they were set to get, almost.
But I mean, the accordion sort of public policy was moving the whole time too, because the CHIPS Act kind of got bigger and bigger and bigger as time went on, and the probability of it passing got lower and lower and lower, and then like urgency kind of contracted the bill to its initial scope, and suddenly it was like, let's fucking ride, So
yeah, they were like, it's now a national security issue, and then they got on the bill and they were like, okay, let's just throw in all this other stuff that we kind of agree on anyway.
Yeah. Okay. Well, speaking of zigzagging priorities, let's talk about gay marriage. I mean, it's like, is it 2004 again? Like, can you believe?
Right.
Can you believe this is a thing?
Right. Yeah. Dick Cheney's daughter. Remember that? John Kerry.
That's right.
Or whatever.
That's right.
Yeah. That was pretty rough. Bad luck for John.
Yeah. So here we are in 2022, not in 2004. So we just, it was only an episode or two ago. We were talking about how this sort of surprise gay marriage bill in the House was sort of on a glide slip to pass the Senate. Given what we've just been talking about, this sort of like new turn of events with the Biden administration racking up wins, polarization returning a la reconciliation in the Senate, the like popular take for narrative cucks, and as I've said many times on this podcast, I'm a huge narrative cuck, love taking the bait on the narrative, love not thinking for myself. It's one of my favorite things to do in political gambling, is that gay marriage is kind of done. And I like Marco Rubio's quote. You feel like Marco Rubio is like kind of one of the guys you need to have even at least like 50% listening to you for a bill like this to pass. And he said, quote, "It's a stupid waste of time." Bill Cassidy, Ben Sass, other guys who are supposed to be persuadable have sort of indicated that they're sort of pissed off about this issue suddenly. Are we hanging it done, Shane? Are we taking it off of reconciliation and hanging it on gay marriage?
You know, I might be wrong about this, and I think there's just a lot more reporting to be done. And to be clear, Susan Collins just came out and said, like, oh, I think the Democrats, like, screwed up our efforts with gay marriage with this reconciliation deal, which to me is one of the most, like, ridiculous DC insidery things to say, that, like, because the Democrats might get a win here, we can't just say gay marriage is legal. Look, if there was a market on this, I think the odds of gay marriage passing would be pretty low right now. I would be buying yes, solely because I think it's in the Democrats' interests to bring this up for a vote. If it gets filibustered.
Are you not a polymarket guy?
I kind of am. I mostly trade on predict. I know that, yeah, there's a market.
You have like a friend in like Canada or Mexico who places bets for you on polymarket. You know, you would never do it yourself though, right?
No, would never myself. Where are the odds at there?
Yeah. So if you want to call your friend in Canada or the UK, it's basically a toss up. It's a 50-50 bet now on polymarket. Will gay marriage pass the U.S. Senate by the end of the year?
That's pretty low. I mean, that's pretty high. That's about right. I would say my reason for wanting yes on that is that it's in the Democrats' interest to bring this up. If it passes, it's like look back 10 years from now, and it's like something that partly defines Biden's presidency, probably more than you would think.
Do you think he's just trying to like pull an alpha move on Barack Obama? Because like really. Like, I don't understand why Barack Obama gets credit for legalizing gay marriage. Like, he just was sitting in an office in the White House when the Roberts Court said, like, y'all can get married now.
Yeah. No, I think I mean, it was Biden at that time who, like, jumped it. Like, the Obama people weren't saying whether they supported this or not. And then Biden went on a Sunday show. And he was like, oh, yeah, we're in. Yep, we support that. It's classic Biden. Yeah, I think he is trying to outdo Obama, especially with like the climate stuff. But with this too, I think this would be remembered. And if they filibuster it, then I mean that just I don't think that's gonna fly as like, well, we never voted on the bill. It was just a procedural vote. I think it's just gonna be like, these senators voted against gay marriage. I mean, before the reconciliation deal, you had Ron Johnson coming out and saying, I don't see a reason not to vote for this. Now, He's up for re-election. He's allegedly in a tough race. I don't really believe that. But that, to me, tells me it's a pretty good wedge issue. And I don't think if it came to a vote, pre-reconciliation, if this came to a vote, I think you would have had like Mitch McConnell and like the same crew that has passed every bipartisan thing. That same group, I think, would have been just in on this. Your Toomeys, your Tillis, whatever, Blunt, all those people. Now, I mean, maybe if they did this like this week, it would get shot down. But if they come back from recess after reconciliation passes, like, I think this is the first thing they do, and I think reporters are going to be all over this. They're going to treat it as a big thing. I think the Republicans, in the end, will feel that 10 of them will feel they have to support it.
So I've been looking at like what the kind of right-wing advocacy groups are saying, and they're already. I was sort of pumping this passing earlier, but the right-wing advocacy groups are already saying the things that kind of give good cover for Republicans to vote no on this stuff, like, stop nonprofit organizations. The idea that the federal government will like strip churches of their tax exempt status if like churches don't perform gay marriages, like basically that they'll turn them into the next masterclass bake shop or something like that. So to me, this tells me that there's kind of righty thought that stepping away from this issue won't be a net loser. And I think part of the reason why is that, I mean, what are the states that the Republicans need to win? I think they need to flip states, right? It's not like, do they have any vulnerable incumbents other than Ron Johnson who could be burned by voting against this?
No, most of they're all retiring.
So it's not really a problem that any incumbent Republicans have. Like, like John Barrasso is not going to lose his reelection because
he won't. He won't. And Rubio would be your next one, but he didn't. I don't know. I just look. It's like you said. It's not 2004. I don't think this is like this was enough of a wedge issue that the House leadership didn't whip against it, and a lot of House Republicans, for the entire Utah delegation, voted for this. Like, yeah. I think if this comes up for a vote, this isn't a political thing. This isn't like a spending thing. This is a cultural issue that people before Roe was overturned viewed as settled for the most part, even more, way more so than abortion, I would say. And I think when that comes up for a vote, there are going to be 10 who will not want to be on the other side of that.
I was thinking that too, but I was looking at just like a lot of gray-haired people that don't, frankly, I think, give a shit.
Yeah, I mean, if I had to guess, I would say some coalition of like Ernst, I think McConnell, Capito, I think some GOP women.
I think here's how the path forward for it is. I think Schumer has two choices. I mean, obviously he has two choices. One, he can call it up before the election and make it a political vote, in which case I think it's done. But if he calls it up after the election in the lame duck, like that I could see as, being the path forward for the bill.
Why not just do both? I mean, he could technically do that if they don't care in the lame duck. Like, why not?
What do you mean? Like, as in call it up before the election and then call it up again?
Yeah.
Does that ever happen?
Sure, it could happen.
Seems. I mean, I don't like. I'm going into my random access memory here. Seems kind of weird, but I mean, I guess I wouldn't rule it out. But I think. I guess to just summarize my perspective here is I see the righty advocacy groups constructing what seems like a cohesive, door exit out for Republicans on this by saying, that the state should not compel churches to marry same-sex couples, and because this bill would allow the state to compel churches, like we just can't be doing it. And that to me sounds like all a few key senators need to just not worry about this for a while.
Yeah, if I was buying in the poly market, then I would buy no and just ride it up, because I think it's not going to happen before the recess. You're going to have a month of time go by. I guarantee, I don't know what the liquidity is, but if you can, in Canada, get 1,000 shares at 50 cents for no, I would be shocked if you couldn't sell that at 65. That's good. It's pretty solid.
Right. So for all of our listeners in Mombasa and Bahrain, that's a great play for you to make. Of course, we would never do that here domestically in the United States. Okay, let's close this out. So on the foreign policy beat, there's a fairly swingy little market. Also, I think this is also a poly market bet, although there might still be a predicted equivalent on whether or not Sweden and Finland will actually be NATO members by the end of the year. So no is favored, I want to say, in the 60s on poly market. So idea being that the clock will run out before Sweden and Finland's membership is a done deal. Do you see, I guess the question in the United States is, is this going to pass our Senate? Is it going to be ratified in our Senate before recess? Because I feel like if things slow down here, there's got to be at least one or two countries that are, waiting for the United States to act to give them cover or motivation or something like that. That tends to sort of be how foreign affairs work. Do you think this is going to slip past recess?
I would guess yes, it will. The person you're looking at here is Rand Paul, who is one of like the three people in the U.S. who is not going to vote for this. Maybe Mike Lee too. But in order, as we talked about before, in order to pass this in the Senate, they would either need to like take an entire week of procedural nonsense, or they need all 100 senators to agree. And foreign policy is something that Rand Paul doesn't usually do the time agreement thing on. For example, he's blocked funding for the Iron Dome in Israel for like months over this stuff. He blocked speedy passage of Ukraine funding, which like McConnell even went to the floor with Schumer to rip him on. So I would guess he doesn't allow speedy passage and doesn't back down. And like he claims he wants some amendment votes. Schumer has almost never given Rand Paul his amendment.
I mean, how do you amend a treaty that 30 nations have to ratify? That's just nakedly, come on, bro. I did see somewhere that 20 in the Finnish press, it's sort of hard to track some of these smaller countries, that 20 of the, whatever it is, 28 or 30 nations have ratified it. So know some great traders who don't want to be disclosed who don't think this will happen on time. But I'm sort of happy to buy yes in the 40s here.
Yeah, like the other countries aren't like really my specialty, and there's a lot sharper people on it. But as far like I think Turkey was the biggest issue.
Right.
As far as I saw there, that was kind of being resolved. So I think that's what you'd be looking for. If I was blindly doing it just on the U.S., not like the U.S. isn't going to be a hurdle of any kind. In the end, I would take some cheaper yes. Maybe.
Yeah, it's like it's like when a movie's on movie star time. Like it's just a matter of when Ryan Reynolds is free, and it's just a matter of when the Senate floor is free. Okay, bonus question: is Nancy Pelosi going to Taiwan?
Yeah, I think so. I think it would just look kind of bad if she didn't. Like she would just look like she was scared or something, or
she's not
bailing out. They're not. Yeah, no, I think she's going. Every indication is she went on the Asia trip, so every indication is she's going to go.
Yeah. All right. Well,
they threatened to shoot down her plane or something, which is just wild. Like, right. Hopefully that doesn't happen.
I mean, but you can like look at a map and be like, oh, well, that's not going to happen. Like, there's something called east coast of Taiwan. Okay. Right. So that's an underdog pick. So bank that again for our listeners in Mombasa. That is a 69. No, it's not an underdog pick. It's a 69-cent yes. So I like that pick too. I'm gonna call my guy in Canada and my guy in Mombasa and have them make that trade for me. Okay, Zubby, did I miss anything?
No, I think we covered it. It's gonna be a really exciting week. One thing that I will add, because I'm a sicko, is that we are approaching a big moment for the Kamala tiebreakers market.
DGens, listen up.
Because this is a party line. Yeah, this is a party line vote, and we're expecting, as of now, to have all 50 Democrats in the Senate. You could be looking at 3 tie votes just on the Inflation Reduction Act alone, and if they put some partisan nominees in there, just because they have all 50 and everyone's there, Kamala's ready, then could see even more. So big week there. I like the upside in that one still.
Hi, my name is Kamala Harris. My pronouns are her
Yeah,
and
right,
she,
right.
and I'm going to break some motherfucking ties today.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what she reads. That's it. That's the official tie-breaking mantra.
The parliamentarian will actually hand her that card while she's up there chairing the
Yeah.
Senate.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what she does. Yeah.
By the way, unsolicited editorial. I'm going to say this because I know you agree with me. I'm supposed to seek conflict when I'm hosting a show, thus the Arby's bet. But I don't think I'm going to find conflict from you on this. What a couple weeks of just reminding you how incredibly not broken the Senate is.
Yeah. No, Senate got a lot of stuff done. Honestly, the most shocking thing, I just didn't think Schumer had that type of move in him. He and Manchin are saying they didn't trick anybody. They 100% just totally rolled the Republicans, and they're being little crybabies about it, which I probably would too if I were in their situation. But yeah, the Senate is about to pass like $500 billion in funding and gun control reform and get a bunch of other major stuff done. I mean, just a great moment for the world's greatest deliberative body or whatever.
Truly. It's like when a 50-50 Senate starts acting like a 50-50 Senate, it works. And when we won't go into that. The Senate's awesome. The Senate fucks. That is the message that I want to exit on.
Sounds like a good message. I love it.
All right, I'll see you at Arby's.
Yeah, sounds good. I can't wait for that.
All right. See you later, man.
All right, see ya. Peace.